Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Moment Unplugged podcast, a space of holistic growth, impactful and safe conversation, embracing every moment of our lives because we know the author. Cheers to sharing joy, peace, and love, and embracing your story. My name is Mandisa Singwane. Thank you for clicking play and tuning in today. I appreciate you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Moments Unplugged podcast. I believe this is episode 6. I stand to be corrected, of season 2. And by now I'm assuming that everybody's kind of closing their academic year, finishing off their exams, and getting ready for the holidays and the festive season. I really hope we all had a decent or a good academic year. Now it's just time to rest up and recuperate and restore for the season that is to come. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you gain something from this episode. And I hope it comes in handy at some stage. Let's get into it. Actually, before we get into today's episode, I'd really like us to take a minute just to pause. And just pause. Stop whatever you're doing. If you are cooking, don't burn the pots, but just internalize what I'm about to say right now. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. How are you? Genuinely. How are you? Tap into that. Think about that. Answer your question. You can answer it for yourself. You can write it down. You can DM me. You can message me. If you have me on your socials, go for it. We can have a conversation. But genuinely, how are you? And how's everything going? I'm going to answer it for you guys. Just give you context. Today is a Thursday evening. I don't know the date, but it's a Thursday evening. Obviously, this episode goes out on Sunday morning. Right? How am I? I'm really tired. India fatigue is like gripping me on steroids. But it's okay, I have a lot to still get done and I will get it done, okay? By fire, by force. But this episode is very appropriate to what I'm saying and how I'm feeling. Like I said, there's a lot to get done and there's just one me. I'm just a girl, Kuningi and one, as we would say. Do you get it? That's how I am. I'm okay. I'm okay for the most part. I just there's a lot to get done and I have so much on my mind and my heart that I need to fulfill. I know I will eventually. It's just getting it off the ground. That's the mission I'm dealing with right now at hand. But all shall be well. I'm good. I'm blessed. And I'm grateful. Anyways, now let's get into the episode for real. Alrighty, so today's topic is giving yourself grace. I told you. I told you it was going to make sense with the question that I asked in the beginning. Because in this season of my life, this is something I've had to focus on so much and be so much more intentional about because it's important. Okay, anyway, so I speak a lot about seasons and the various phases of life because this concept is really close to my heart, as you may have already noticed. But something I feel like we hardly talk about are some of the tools or what we need that is necessary to allow us to cope and to navigate through these seasons and their transitions and the changes that they bring. And hence, one of the tools I believe that is really important is giving yourself the grace. Hence, I thought, let's have the conversation. And so I've brought it to the podcast today. If you're someone that's feeling a bit like me or have had seasons or, you might have other seasons that are a lot, I really hope you keep this in mind and it allows you to become more intentional about this specific thing in whatever season that you're in. I think it's a really important tool. Necessary. Very necessary. One that you should have in your back pocket, like when it gets tough, when the going gets tough, just pull it out and use it. It does and will come in handy. Okay, so I'm going to step on a few toes, but this is very important for me to state. I believe that we are our own worst critiques. I know we have that thing of like, abantu bazothini syndrome vibe, and like, oh my gosh, what are people going to say and think and whatever. Which I mean is fair sometimes, but most of the time, you are your own biggest judge and critique. Your inner critique has so much more impact on you than what other people may think or say about anything, because you will judge yourself first before someone else does, and most of the time you judge yourself quite harshly compared to what other people might. Not all the time, but most of the time. And initially when I heard this, I was like, oh no, I'm not my worst critique. I'm like my best cheerleader. Like, go girl. Best hype woman I've ever seen. Then I was like, oh no, because I'm the person who's the most hard on myself. I know some people might have expectations for me, but for those expectations to actually get to me, I need to be the one that instills them in myself. And I'm the only one that can be as harsh or as lenient on myself to actually get something done or criticize myself about, whatever the case may be. But I am my own worst critique. And accepting that has helped me then embrace the fact that I need to give myself more grace. But we'll get into that. Another fact. Have you ever noticed how much it's always so much easier? Don't know if that English that I just said there makes sense. How much easier? Let me say it like that. Have you ever realized how much easier it is for us to forgive someone or give someone more grace than ourselves? And I'm still trying to grapple with this. Like, why do I struggle so much to forgive myself grace? But when it comes to someone else's shortfalls or mistakes, it's so much easier to just be like, oh, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And I fix it, or I get over it, or I forgive, or I just move on, basically. But if it's me, I'm going to make a mistake today. Next week, same time, same place, I'm going to be beating myself up for something I did last week, Thursday. Why? I also don't know. I'm really also trying to still like master this concept and understand why. But I think it's very much linked to what I just said previously. We are our own worst critiques. Do you get what I'm going with this? Like, yes, I'm my biggest cheerleader. Yes, I'm my biggest hype woman. But I can also be my own worst critique and my own, like, I don't know, like, biggest bully, if I can say it like that. But we need to find a place where these two equations can actually balance themselves. Like, yes, I can be my best hype woman, but I also don't have to be my worst critique. How can we balance those two? How can I criticize myself in a way that is very conducive to building myself? But also, how can I criticize myself in a way that also stays and remains true to what I'm trying to achieve, or and not just be complacent, I think that's the word. Be constructive, but be kind to myself. We do that a lot for other people. We give them good, constructive, kind criticism. And then you get to yourself and just like, girl, you're a mess. You're failing. You know what I mean? But this is why I said this topic. It's important. And as I said when I started, this particular topic has been very important to me. And I've been trying to be really more intentional about it. I don't get it right all the time. Sometimes I literally have to self-correct. While I'm criticizing myself, I just be like, whoa. Just stop right there. And just be more conscious of the words I'm saying to myself. Like I said, I get it right sometimes I really don't, and then I'm beating myself up for a week, like I said. But when you do get it right, it feels good. It feels good to get it right. Like, it feels good. It feels good to know that, look, I wasn't harsh on myself and I gave myself the chance, okay? I had so much grace on myself. It's like, it's a reward, believe me. I don't know if it's just me or if some of you may also relate, but I am so strict with myself in general. Yes, I'm my own worst critique, but there is no one that is as strict as me to myself. And I mean, maybe to my friends and people around me, I might also be that person. But, believe me, The streak that I have for myself, nobody else can like ever give me that type of streak for myself. And so most of the time when someone might criticize you or might come at you for something they've seen, noticed, whatever, 9 times out of 10 you've probably already criticized yourself for it. It's like, I've noticed this before you did, thanks, but was it necessary? I don't know. Yeah. And I also kind of attribute the streaks that I have on myself to my perfectionism. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm in recovery, guys. So, because I've noticed that my perfectionism is where my most strict self comes out from. And until I can unlearn the idea of being a perfectionist, being kinder to myself will always be that much harder. And I think that's why I've now made it a point to fix it, because I've got many years ahead of me, and there is no ways I can keep crippling myself like this with the type of things I say to myself. Okay, so now I'm just going to give you a list of moments or times or examples of when I really feel like I'm being the most mean to myself, or when my inner critique is at her peak and she is beating me down. Because I feel like when I'm aware of what triggers my inner critique, I'm able to intentionally then combat it, obviously, with grace. So you can listen to my little list and then make your own little one after this, so that it serves as a warning sign that, when I'm in the situation, I become really mean to myself and I beat myself down and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is my little list. Alrighty, so number 1 for me is when I let imposter syndrome crowd my judgment of my capabilities. So have you ever been in that moment where you're like, I shouldn't be in this room, knowing very well that you should, and you've earned your space in that room. And then you start beating yourself down as to why you don't deserve to be in that room. Big space, that one, for your inner critic to thrive. Number 2 is when I genuinely have a lot on my plate and my to-do list, and I'm not moving through it as fast as I had hoped I would. So those days where it's like to-do list from A to Z, literally, and it's a big day, it's a busy one, it's hot, it's everything else in between. And you've got like the time blocking thing going on, and there's a time and a space for everything. But things are not going as planned, right? And then I start to criticize myself and I beat myself down again. That one, another place that crowds my judgment. And then my inner critique does what again? She shines. She is sparkling in this situation. Number 3 is when I have little to no capacity to show up in the manner in which I had hoped I could. Have you ever been in that moment where you're like, next week Thursday, I'm gonna do this and do that because, okay, maybe you have plans. Okay, so next week Thursday is maybe like your test day / I don't know, you and your friends are going out and whatever the case may be. And it's like that day, that day that has to be great. And then the day comes and there's no capacity for that stuff anymore. And now you're beating yourself up. Like, I'm just a human, right? But your inner critique doesn't acknowledge that, because your inner critique has been preparing for this moment. She is like, let's go. And you do what? You disappoint her again, my Bena. And she says what? She comes for you and everything around you. That's another warning place where your inner critique does what? She shines like a what? Like a diamond. Thank you. Alrighty, so those are my little, at the top of my head, that is the little list I can make of moments where I know my inner critique is thriving. She is at the top of a game. And so now I'm just going to give you an idea of what then I do to combat that in that moment where I am beating myself up and just not having a great time. I then, number 1, I affirm myself the most. So if I'm in that room and I feel like an imposter, I will then affirm myself as to why I'm in this room and why I've earned my seat in this room and on that table, or whatever the case may be. I also then take the moment to appreciate myself and cultivate some gratitude, which is last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it, the previous episode, give it a hit. Give it a listen. But I cultivate gratitude about what I've already done and accomplished in that moment. So if my to-do list is nowhere near finish, then I go back and I just be like, oh, but I've done this and I've done that and I've done this and I've done that, and man, I've done a lot, and a moment that was now meant to break me down has suddenly done what? It's building me up, and it's giving me what? Confidence to do what? To carry on. Do you understand? But yeah, that's my little hack. Use it, don't use it. Find one. Let me know if you find another one. Let's build each other up, guys. Our inner critics can be crippling, but I believe we can beat them at their own game, right? Alrighty, and so if you follow the Moments Unplugged page on Instagram, you may have seen that last week Sunday, I believe, I posted a little post that had some pointers on what we should give ourselves the grace for, and some of the points were give yourself the grace to 1, embrace your season, 2, to make mistakes, 3, to ask for help, 4, to try again, and 5, to allow change. And yeah, as I close, like I said, it's taking me some time to get this right. And when you start off, it may feel very strange and uncomfortable. Like, why am I being so nice to myself? It's a very awkward feeling. But once you've done it once and you've done it twice, and like I said in the beginning, it becomes a reward. It's exciting. It's like, I'm getting this done. I'm so nice to myself. It feels like an achievement. And I believe it's necessary. So take the time to be more aware of it, intentional about it. It does a lot for the inner self. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you gained something from this episode. I hope you have a great and a productive week, and I appreciate you so much. Bye, guys. And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening in today. I hope this episode was beneficial and enjoyable. Don't forget to leave a rating and a comment. Until next time, have a great and productive week. Check in soon.